The wind howls like a pack of wolves, clawing at your frostbitten face as you stumble through a blinding snowstorm in the heart of the 1800s American frontier. One wrong step, and the endless white void swallows you whole. No trace, no mercy. This is winter in the Wild West, where survival isn't a guarantee. It's a fight you earn with every shivering breath. Picture the untamed prairies of the 19th century, where the last golden rays of a fading sun surrendered to a sky heavy with snow. The air bites, sharp as a Bowie knife, carrying the faint tang of pine and distant campfires. Winter doesn't just arrive, it invades, transforming open plains into a frozen wasteland and rivers into creaking sheets of ice. In an era without electricity or central heating, the cold was a relentless enemy, testing cowboys, settlers, and native tribes to their breaking points. The iron grip of winter, slow, grim. The little ice age lingered like an unwelcome guest, its chill sinking deep into the frontier's bones. Temperatures plunged so low that the mighty Missouri River became a glassy highway for fur trappers, a fleeting novelty that masked a deadly toll. Blizzards, like the infamous Great Blizzard of 1888, buried entire towns, leaving behind tales of frozen cattle and lost souls. Crops withered under early frosts, and herds starved on barren ranges, their ribs stark against frost-crusted hides. For many, winter wasn't a season, it was a crucible. Imagine waking in a sod house on the wind-swept plains, your breath a foggy cloud in the dim light of dawn. The fire, fed by brittle buffalo chips, sputters weakly, barely holding back the cold seeping through mud walls. Your fingers, numb and cracked, fumble with a tin of beans, last night's meager supper, and maybe all you'll eat today. Outside, the livestock huddle, their steamy breaths rising like ghosts in the sub-zero air. You chop ice from the frozen waterhole, knowing one missed day could doom your animals and your family. Hunger gnaws at your gut. Your kids' pale faces haunt your every step. This was the frontier's truth, a brutal dance with nature's indifference. Yet, in the heart of this frozen hell, the human spirit burned bright. The Wild West pulsed with life, its people tethered to the land's rhythms. For native tribes like the Lakota and Cheyenne, winter was a sacred pause. Around crackling lodge fires, elders wove tales of the Great Spirit and epic buffalo hunts, their voices a lifeline against the howling dark. These stories weren't just folklore, they were survival, knitting communities together through the long, isolated months. Settlers, too, found solace in fleeting joys. Christmas on the frontier was a defiant act of hope, a pot of venison stew shared with neighbors who trudged miles through snowdrifts. In makeshift churches, voices rose in silent night, mingling with the strum of a cowboy's guitar under starlit skies. These moments, small as they were, thoughtful glowed like embers in the cold. Community was the frontier's heartbeat. Picture a snowbound outpost in the Rockies, chimneys puffing defiance against a leaden sky. Inside, families huddled by hearths, swapping tales of trail drives and gold strikes. Neighbors braved blizzards to deliver kindling or a warm bowl of soup, their boots crunching through drifts. In bunkhouses, the king of the bunkhouse tradition turned Christmas into a day of laughter, where a lowly cowhand could playfully boss his foreman. A rare release in a world of rigid survival. The shadow of death, winter's beauty hit a vicious edge. In cramped, smoky cabins, disease thrived. Influenza swept through settlements, a silent reaper claiming young and old. Pneumonia preyed on the weakened, its damp chill drowning lungs already strained by hunger. Half of all frontier children never saw their 5th birthday, many falling in winter's grip. A haunting custom tells the tale. A black ribbon tied to a sick infant's hand, ready to become its burial shroud if the worst came to pass. Travel was a deadly gamble. Trails vanished under snow, and stagecoaches stalled in drifts, their passengers left to freeze. The Donner Party's fate loomed large, a grim reminder of winter's wrath in the high Sierras. Even a short ride to check cattle could end in tragedy. A rancher lost in a whiteout, his body hidden until spring's thaw. And then there was famine. The winter of the blue snow in 1886 to 87 buried herds across the plains, leaving cowboys to boil leather for survival. Some regions lost up to 75% of their livestock, a blow that shattered livelihoods, unbreakable resolve. Yet, the frontier folk endured. They were forged in grit and grace, their spirits as unyielding as the frozen earth. When food dwindled, they cinched their belts tighter. When firewood ran low, they shared blankets and body heat. In the darkest nights, they whispered of spring, their voices steady with hope. A cowboy poet's words from the era capture their defiance. Through frost and snow, through bitter woe, we'll fight the cold where wild winds blow. Hope's the flame that won't grow dim, and spring's the dawn we'll rise to win. These weren't just words, they were a creed. Neighbors shared their last scraps with those hungrier than themselves. Families sang, prayed, and laughed, finding light in the gloom. Every shared meal, every helping hand, was a middle finger to winter's cruelty. Spring's hard-won dawn. Hope wasn't blind, it was earned. The frontier's people watched for signs of thaw, a faint warmth in the air, green shoots piercing the snow. When spring finally broke, it was a resurrection. The spring roundup in early March was a raucous celebration, cowboys whooping as they drove cattle to fresh pastures under a strengthening sun. The land stirred, and with it, a fierce gratitude for survival. The Wild West's winters were brutal, unrelenting teachers. They stripped life to its rawest form, revealing the power of community, the strength of resolve, and the beauty of simple joys. Those who endured carried scars, but also stories, legends of grit that echo across centuries, a legacy that endures. Today, in our world of heated homes and stocked supermarkets, the frontier's winters feel like distant myths. But their lessons burn bright. No storm lasts forever, and no darkness can extinguish hope. The Wild West's people faced nature's worst with courage and camaraderie, proving that even in the coldest shadows, the human spirit can blaze. So, the next time life feels like a frozen trail, remember their grit and keep walking toward the dawn.